Hello world, and welcome back. In this section, we'll be covering closing the interview. This is the last 5 minutes of the interview when you're done with all of the technical questions and the whiteboard coding questions and the most important interview question, and it's time to finish. Now, this section is important because first, candidates think and they believe that this is the time for them to talk about their needs, to focus on them. At least that's what the majority of the interview prep material out there currently says. And I want to shift your perception here as well, away from that. And instead, don't make it about you. Make the final questions that you ask focus on the health of the project and to help you understand one last time what the priorities are for the group so that based on the responses from the manager, you can make one last pass at why your past work experience and your past contributions will help them meet their goals. So focus on what it's going to take for their project to be successful. Focus on the health of the project and ask questions that helps you understand what are the current needs of the team and the project, and get the manager to state one more time what it is that they're looking for. Again, if they say something that they haven't already said, or if they reassert something they've already said about what they're looking for, you can take a moment and say, I'm really glad you brought that up. I just wanted to remind you I did this, this, and this on these projects, and I think I'd be able to hit the ground running and contribute in that same way based on your current needs. So again, avoid making the interview about you. The next thing you shouldn't do at this stage of the interview is don't ask how you did. It focuses on you, and it's actually kind of irrelevant because even if you did poorly, the manager doesn't want you to leave with the feeling of failure. So just let it ride. Let your past contributions and your ability to communicate it encapsulate what it is that you've done, and to let the manager make the decision on their own. Now, I haven't brought this up. When managers ask, like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? We've talked about how to scope the context of your answer specifically to the needs of the project. But one of the things that I used to say as a candidate, and that I hear quite often from candidates, is as one of their strengths, they're a fast learner. This alone actually doesn't mean very much, because in the tech industry, things are changing so quickly from month to month and from year to year that to even be successful, by definition, you have to be a fast learner. So just consider that everybody who's qualified to be hired into the role that you're interviewing for, they're a fast learner too, and it doesn't really set you apart just to say that you're a fast learner. Now, there is one way that you can communicate that you're a fast learner and have it not be so trite. Give specific examples of when you have learned quickly. Make sure that when you're creating your review document of your resume, that point out when you had to come up to speed on a new technology so that you can be prepared at this point of the interview. When you give one of your strengths, you can say, well, I want to share with you that I believe I'm a fast learner because on this project, I came up to speed quickly in this amount of time to deliver this solution, And on this other project, I came up to speed in this amount of time to deliver this solution. So if you are going to emphasize that you're a fast learner, back it up with specific examples. Now, like I've said, keep the focus on the success of the project. Here are some questions that you can qualify with the manager that will help you understand more about what the needs are. And the questions keep the focus on the project's success. For instance, ask them directly, hey, what's the health of the project right now? That's a pretty good starting place. Second, ask them, where are they in their current project milestones? Get an idea as to where you'll be dropping into the project. Because if it's early on in the project, they might be able to spare the time to have you ramp up. But if it's at the end of the project, they might have very specific needs and requirements, and it will help you understand better whether or not it's even a good idea for you to pursue the position. Not that you should take the decision away from the manager, but at least it'll help you understand how they're going to be making their decision. Next, ask them, how stable is the code base? How often are they doing refactors or rewrites of the code? Is this a new project, or has it been around for several years? Are you going to be working on legacy code and maintaining it, or are you going to be creating brand new code? Also, ask them, what's the bug fix to bug find ratio? Understanding how stable the code is will help you understand what you're getting yourself into if you decide to accept the position. Now, if you are like, look, I don't want to come into a team that has a lot of issues, my response is, you know what? It's the teams that have issues that need help. And if you can contribute to addressing those issues, then maybe this is a good time for you to join the team and to contribute to that success, and then reap the rewards of stepping up and contributing. The next question that you can ask, again, to help keep the focus on the success of the project, is what are the skills that are needed for the position that no other person on the team has? Meaning, this could be another point for you to reinforce that your past contributions and the experience that you're bringing to this position can directly contribute to a specific need that is going unmet at this time. The last question that I have here for you is, ask them, what is an acceptable amount of ramp-up time that the project can afford for you? You know what? Maybe there is enough time, and being direct and honest in this way opens a dialogue, and you can have a very practical conversation with the manager. Now, let's move on to another popular question that's asked during the last 5 minutes of the interview or after the coding exercises are completed, and it has to do with strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, list the 5 of your strengths and 5 of your weaknesses. We talked about this before in a past session where I described to you the horror story of what I answered when I was interviewing in the Windows Update group. But let's review this again. When you're asked what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, you need to clarify relative to what. What is the context? You can even ask the manager, in what aspect are you asking? Is it related to how many years of coding experience you have? Or is it related to the skills that are required for the position that you might not have? Is it related to your ability to learn quickly because there's a short amount of time? Qualify this question. Ask questions before you start talking about your strengths and weaknesses. You'll have a much better conversation with the manager that's much more insightful and will help you understand exactly what they need. Remember, when you're answering strengths and weaknesses, it's related to how you contributed to the success of your most recent projects. So keep that in mind, that there might be a position out there that you can do in your sleep that you're ready to do immediately. Qualify, find out, and if you see an opportunity to map your past contribution to their current needs, mention that at this time. So in this last 5 minutes, when you're being asked the strengths and weaknesses, you need to be asking yourself the question, what is it going to take for the project to be successful? And is it possible to interview for a position where you don't have any weaknesses? Yes, it is. There might be a development position where they need a tools developer. You've been doing that for 10 years on the platform that they're using the exact same tools that they're using. Well, if that's what they need, and that's what you can bring as an expert, as an accomplished engineer to the position, then there's a chance that there aren't any weaknesses that will contribute to the risk of the manager extending you an offer. Remember, just like in the scenario-based questions, your answers to the strengths and weaknesses depends. It's all about context. In the next section, we're going to be talking about final thoughts. We're getting close to the end of this series, and we really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch up to this point. I look forward to talking to you about final thoughts. We're going to summarize the bulk, the key ideas that we've covered across the entire set of videos, and I look forward to summarizing those to you. I'll see you there.